Welcome back, everyone. For today's video, we have a recap of Day 3, FIDE Candidates 2026. This is Fabiano and Caruana playing with white versus Wei Yei with the black pieces. So the game starts with knight f3. This is preparation. Probably Fabi will play knight f3 in all his games, we don't know. So the response is knight f6, c4, and c5. This looks more like an English opening now, where you start pushing c4 early on. Now g3, we get g6, completely symmetrical variation, knight to c3, d5, and now, yeah, one of the best moves is to take, so that happens in the game. Knight takes on d5, bishop to g2, fianchetto the bishop, black fianchettos the bishop as well. Now queen to a4 check. Okay, putting pressure on the king, knight to c6 defense, knight to g5. This is kind of the best. It's a surprise. It's not an uncommon move, just to jump in with the knight here, but it's also putting pressure on this knight, right? So, okay, the knight has to be moved, hitting the queen. Fabi decides to trade the knight, check. They take back, we take here, so black has to defend, bishop to d7, and now white is going to be up to pawns. But if we analyze this with the engine, with the computer, it's saying this is an equal position because black is nearly done with development. They can castle, and I would probably consider this as finished development, maybe developing the queen later. But white is, these two pieces are kind of weird, right? And the knight has been developed, but bishop is maybe at least 2 moves away from development, and the rooks are disconnected, hasn't been castled. So it's an equal position if you analyze it with computer, but it's still 2 pawns. Okay, h6, knight goes back, rook to c8. You have to know where to put the queen. Fabi obviously has prepared for this. Also not so difficult to find, queen a5. Okay, bishop to h3. It's a great move, preparing for infiltration. So white gives a check here, queen b5, knight goes back, and rook g1, rook g1, preparing for g4, right? Also avoiding the bishop from coming in. Perfect, we get castle, and now g4. All right, so rook c5 is the next move. This is a strategical mistake, and what the computer wants here is something like knight f6. Knight f6, putting pressure on the pawn. And after a few moves, let's say we get queen f4, okay, defending the pawn. We get queen c7, rook b1. The game continues. Rook c6, rook c5, sorry, is saying, what are you doing? The queen is going to move anyway, and this bishop is getting trapped, so you have to do something about it, right? You have to target the pawn. Okay, now black makes another mistake, which also helps white. Knight to a5. Knight to e5, okay, I'm happy. I'm gonna take here. A better try was to play queen c7. Queen c7, you cannot move this knight, right? Because that would hand checkmate. You can take twice here. But also putting the battery on the open file. And even better, not knight to e5, but maybe knight to f6. Right? The same idea. You go after the pawn. Okay, that doesn't happen in the game. Knight to e5. Okay, I am white. I am down in development. I am happy to trade pieces. Happy to attack, to trade your attacking piece. Rook takes back. Knight to d1. And Wei Yei realizes something important. This bishop is trapped. Yeah, after this, we take here. So he, after moving rook takes on e5, he resigned on the spot. There was nothing to be done. Sorry, after this, knight to d1, he resigned off the spot. There was nothing to be done, and now Fabi has 2.5 points out of 3. He's completely winning in the tournament. All right, we have been covering Hikaru Nakamura versus. All right, we have been covering Hikaru Nakamura, as he's one of the most famous streamers in the chess world. Okay, we start with c4. That's the opening for white. Hikaru has the white pieces. Knight f6, knight to c3, and e5. So to me, Hikaru, I don't know if he prepared anything. I will have to see in the interviews, probably his recap. But to me, he's just he came to play chess. Knight to f3, knight to c6, d3. So I don't particularly love. I am an English player myself, English opening player. I'm Mexican, not English. So I don't love the setups where you push d3 because you can end up with a weakness, as we're gonna see in the game. Here, for example, you can play d4, takes, we trade the knights, but you still have a lot of flexibility with your bishops and this pawn structure. You can even push e3, maybe get the bishop out, or push g3, get the bishop out. Okay, so now we get d5, best move. C takes on d5, knight takes back. Now e4. Even though this is the computer move, we're going to end up with this weakness that I had mentioned before. The mesh, this is a weakness on d3, the backward pawn, and also d4, right? Technically a weakness because we cannot put a pawn that is defending this square. So the knight eventually can land on d4. So bishop to e2, bishop g4, bishop e3, queen d7, castle. And here I thought that black can castle this way. It's also playable and would have been very interesting, very sharp. But okay, Anish goes for the safer option, and here he decides to trade the knights. We take back with the bishop, and this is occupied. This outpost is occupied by the knight. Knight to d4. Okay, and here is like, okay, do we get rid of this knight? Yeah, that's possible. It's gonna be difficult to play after queen takes back. So now Hikaru plays g3. I thought this was creative. It's asking the question, do you want to take this bishop or what are you doing? Otherwise, I'm gonna keep it and keep the bishop pair. So, and the interesting thing is, after this, white is slightly better. White cannot even take, black cannot even take this pawn. Queen takes on d3. This will be a mistake. I guess really sharp, right? If we go with computer moves, bishop d6, bishop h6. We can even keep up this bishop. If we take here, we don't even have to take immediately. We can hit the queen. It gets really crazy, really fast. Okay, so g3 is played. Now bishop c5 is the continuation. That's what happened in the game. Rook to c1. Okay, preparing to open up this file. Bishop to b6. Bishop to g2. Castle. And I think the rest of the game is pretty self-explanatory. Rook f to d8. Okay, putting more pressure on this pawn. Long term. a3, h6, rook to e1, rook to c8, h3, okay, knight to e6, and here I figured you have to take this bishop, right? This bishop is too good to leave it on the board, so at some point you have to take it. And why did you put the knight here on this square? So the knight has to take this bishop. A takes on b6, bishop to f1, keeping an eye on the pawn, right? This is our weakness with white. They're putting a lot of pressure here. I think the other try would have been to play something like rook c3. Everything is fine. Okay, bishop to f1, c5, queen to e2. And here, even with the bishop pair versus the two knights, if these bishops were in open diagonals, yeah, maybe white has a slight chance to play for a win. But these bishops are bad. This is terrible. Now knight to d4. Okay, we get rid of the knight. Queen takes on d4. Rook c4, kicking out the queen. Queen d7, b4. Knight to e8. B takes on c5. It's a very equal game, right? Now queen to b2, healing the pawn. Knight to d6. Here, rook goes to c1. Rook to e8. Rook to b1. b5. Rook c1. Queen e6. Queen b3. Offering the terror of queens. c4. Here, I think you can trade everything in this position. I think it will be fine. Probably taking here. Let me see if that works. I'm not sure. I'm not sure now. No, I think that's fine. Yeah. No, wait. Now we just lost. Okay, sorry. So that was a mistake. So queen b4. Yeah, I was also kind of trying to keep the pieces on the board, but now that I see it's the best move, yeah, you cannot trade everything here. Okay, now rook moves to c7, a4, b takes on e4, okay, queen e7, And yeah, the rest of the game fizzle out into a draw. Alright, there's not much to be done. Now two rooks and bishop versus two rooks and knight. It's an equal endgame anyway. So rook takes back, we check, bishop f1, knight f6, and rook a5, and here they agree to a draw. There is not much to be done. And yeah, this is now both players are with 1 point out of 3. It's not the greatest start for the tournament for both of them. Okay, this is gonna be a beautiful game with black, also a decisive result. Let's start with this one, Sindarov playing with the black pieces versus Prag with white. We are gonna get a Queen's Gambit decline, so this is a standard moves. Bishop to e7, one of the most solid ways to play against it. Knight to f3, knight to f6, bishop to f4, castle, e3, c5, contesting the center right away. D takes on c5, bishop takes, a3, knight to c6, queen c2, rook to e8. Maybe preparing for e5, maybe later. Bishop to g5, and here what black, if you're playing black, probably you want to play something like bishop to e7, and if bishop takes, you just take back. The game continues. Now, what happens in the game is an engine move, d4. Okay, d4, I had not seen that before, and even though probably it's a common move, but it's not something that you usually play or usually see. Okay, bishop takes on f6, queen takes on f6, now knight to e4, the knight is hitting this, okay, we have to protect the bishop and move the queen. b4, and here this is where the game gets very interesting. We get a sacrifice, knight takes on b4, they take back, so we're sacking a pawn for a knight for 2 pawns, and it gets very interesting play because the idea is normally for white in the Queen's Gambit decline is to play on the queen side, right? They want to play here, but now how do they play if they have sacrificed the 2 pawns? Usually they want to push the pawns here. Okay, so king to d1, d takes on e3, and let's continue here. Bishop to d3, queen g6. This is cold-blooded to me, right? Cold-blooded because you have to know that this is completely fine. Let's say that white plays something like this, knight to g3. It's like, oh my god, where do I put my queen exactly? It's not super clear. Now the engine says f5. Yeah, you're completely fine, but you still have to know this move. Okay, f takes on e3. Now f5 anyway, kicking out the knight. So knight has to move, knight to g3, bishop to c5, hitting this weakness, the backward pawn, and isolate it. So queen c3 is not the best way. The best way is just to get rid of the best move is to get rid of the weakness, right? Pushing e4. And queen c3, okay, I can maybe take here, but the idea is also to land the knight here on e5. So for black, I'm gonna get rid of this weakness by pushing e5, right? So I'm completely fine here, bishop to c2, they go back, also protecting the pawn, e4, nice, knight to d2, I'm winning a space with black, rook to d8, hitting the king to c1, and remember where the king was. Now it's going like this. What is happening? Queen to g5, hitting the pawn again, rook to e1, queen e7, rook to e2. And the best idea, instead of playing rook to e2, so here, why do we move the queen? I'm preparing to play this, queen b4, hitting this diagonal. So rook to e2 is a good idea, not the best execution. Best is rook d1, right? Getting out of the diagonal, but this is also better execution. Okay, rook to e2, bishop to b4, queen to d2, we get a5, supporting the bishop, knight to b3, rook to d6, knight to d4, and the best move here, okay, this pawn is hanging. This pawn is hanging, protecting only with the bishop, is to play g6. This is what the engine is saying. But to me, this is scary, right? It's like, why not? Why would I do that if I'm playing black? So this is the best. This is the human approach. This is what happened in the game. Queen g5 is considered to be a mistake, but that's too harsh, right? Queen to g5, king b1, and it's like, white has no moves. They're only moving the king. What is happening in the position? Now h5, king a2, and again it's like, remember where the king was? Now it's almost like walking into the lion's den. Yeah, the best move, or a better try, rook f2, a little bit more active. Okay, king to a2, h4. It's all passive moves, right? It's all passive moves for white. Knight to f1, bishop to d7. And to me, if you look at these 4 pieces, they're getting into a nice harmony, right? This bishop is the only one that looks loose, but rook is great here, rook is great here, bishop is looking great here. Everything is great for black in this position. Hitting the queen, hitting the king, everything is great. Knight to d2, rook to b6, c5, and now here you can take back with the bishop, but black took with the rook. Rook takes on c5. Also, some geometry here. This is considered a blunder, even when it keeps the advantage for black, because I guess they have this move here, hitting the rook. Okay, rook takes on c5, queen b3, giving a check. So we have to move king to h8, queen to f7, another inaccuracy, and we have a sacrifice. What do you want to do if you're playing black? Feel free to pause the video and find the brilliancy. Because here, if you're playing black, I want to play bishop to e6. I cannot do it, they just take. So I'm gonna get rid of this bishop. Rook takes on c2. For obvious reasons, they cannot take here. I just play this, and my bishop is protected. I'm hitting everything. So king to wait, what is the move? King to b3, king to h8, queen f7, rook takes. Sorry, I lost the thread. Now king to b1 is played, right? They cannot take here. King to b1, rook takes on d2, rook takes, bishop takes, king to a2, bishop takes on e3. Now I'm gonna try to get rid of this knight. Queen takes on d7, bishop takes on d4, and all of a sudden, if you can material, black is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, queen and rook versus queen and rook. However, 2 pawns is not enough. So Prag and Anda resign on move 40, because queen f6 offering the threat of queens. I'm threatening all kinds of things here, so he resigned on the spot. It's too much. Alright guys, in the women's section there were a lot of decisive results as well. Just for the purposes of this video, let's show the critical moments, because there's a lot of content. So here we're gonna get to this position where queen goes to f5, queen to d3, offering the threat of queens. And here black has a very interesting tactical choice. Knight to e3, just sacrificing the knight. Of course, if they take back with the queen here, this is hanging. So taking back with the pawn means I'm gonna win the piece back. Okay, that's interesting. And let's go ahead. This is a brilliancy from white. I don't think it was that hard to see, but it's still worth mentioning. So the rook sacrifices, rook takes on c7. Okay, a temporary sacrifice, because once the rook takes back, this comes with check, king has to move. Okay, they win back the piece. And the next one, I think this is insane. So queen takes on d5. Now knight is going to give a check, a fork instead, sorry. This is forking the rook and the queen, right? Knight to f4. So white has to take. And now this comes with check. Okay, it looks like, wait a second, it's just like 4 pieces versus 2. But the king has to move, okay. And now the continuation is interesting. Queen to d3. Okay, queen defense. and I'm just gonna play g4. Cold-blooded g4. If you take here the queen, this comes with checkmate, mating 1. So the best move is just to offer the trade of rooks. Okay, I'm gonna take back the queen, the 3 pieces here, but this is too much, right? It's queen versus these 2 pieces. Yeah, quite resign a few moves later. And let's see the results of the round 3. Okay, these are the results in the open section. Fabi and Sindarov in the top places with 2.5 points. Prag and Matthias Blowbound with 1.5. Hikaru and Wei Yei with 1. The rest with 1, sorry. Now let's go with the women's section. And as I speak, these are the standings for the women's section. However, Alexandra is facing Divya, and she has an advantage. She has a clear advantage. She's gonna probably end up with 2 points in the lead with Bibi Sara and Katerina and Lagno. Alright, I will see you in the next one, and take care.